So all of this is really bad, but I think we're gonna be okay. As long as no one else knows.
Are you sure about that?
Before there was magic, there were gods.
Fine, I guess.
The first ones. Forgotten now, even by the world that stands on what they left behind. Their fingerprints are still everywhere. In the comets that strike every 1,000 years, in the laws that keep chaos and order from tearing the sky apart. In the quiet balance that no one ever questions, yet everything depends on. By the end of Adventure Time, a few of these higher beings finally revealed themselves. We saw chaos take shape in Golb.
What am I looking at?
We saw life and death speak through their avatars, but one figure never appeared, even as the others stepped into the light. A presence the show hinted at, but never named. These were the forgotten gods of Oo, creators whose work outlived their names in a universe still governed by their rules. But rules don't appear by accident. Someone, or something, decided how far even gods could reach and where their power would stop. And even in our world, we follow rules we never chose, some written, some invisible. And sometimes the real mystery is who or what put them there. So who set the rules even all of the multiverse obey? The answer isn't written in any prophecy or spellbook. It's hidden in the structure of reality itself, in the hierarchy of beings who still serve a law older than creation. To understand the gods Oo forgot, we have to start with the ones who still follow their orders. Who decides what can be changed and what must stay in balance? In Adventure Time, the universe is not ruled by a throne or a crown.
Call me Princess.
What? Oh, Golb!
It is managed by a system, a network of cosmic entities responsible for keeping reality in balance. At the center of that system is Prismo, the wishmaster of the multiverse.
Nasty jazz.
A being so powerful he can bend time, reshape worlds, or create entire timelines with a single wish.
Oh, I wish it was quiet enough to think.
Wish granted.
Oh, wait,
But even he is not free.
And if he finds out about you, he's gonna report me, and then... my boss is gonna drop the hammer.
Your boss?
That single line changed how fans understood the hierarchy. Because if Prismo, the literal dream of an old god, answers to someone, it means there is a law above even the ones who write reality. Prismo is not alone in that chain. There is Scarab.
He's a jerk god auditor.
Who hunts and punishes those who break the law. And Orbo, the counterpart who oversees the work of cosmic entities and keeps the structure of reality intact. Together, they serve a higher authority no one has ever seen. The boss.
Oh, crud!
The only proof of its existence is a phone suspended in the void, half angel and half demon. One wing of light, one of shadow. A symbol that suggests whatever this being is, it is not good or evil. It is both. And that raises a quiet truth that reaches beyond the show. Sometimes the systems we live inside are shaped by people we never meet and forces we never see. We follow rules without knowing the rule maker. It does not rule, it maintains. The boss is not a god of creation or destruction. It is the law that binds them both. And this image, this strange balance of light and dark, is not unique. It appears somewhere else, in the oldest surviving text of Oo's mythology. On the page opposite Golb.
This book?
Yeah, I see it.
It's called the Enchiridion.
The oldest book in Oo, the Enchiridion, hides a mystery that most people overlook. On one page, it shows Golb, the embodiment of chaos and unmaking. But directly across from him sits another figure. A rooster-headed being with a human body, a shield in one hand and a whip in the other. A short warrior skirt wraps its waist, and a cape drapes over one shoulder. Its legs are serpents, each ending in the head of a dog. Beneath it, a snake curves into an infinity loop, the Ouroboros, the symbol of death and rebirth. But here, the design is different. The loop knots in the center, binding itself before closing the circle. It could mean that this version of eternity isn't free-flowing, but contained, a cycle bound by its own design. A universe that sustains itself through tension, not release. This raises another possibility. The Ouroboros has long symbolized life, death, and the return that connects them. If malice represents the original balance between creation and destruction, then this knotted loop may point to something deeper, that the cycle and creation of life and death in Ou traces back to the same source. Not as their literal parent, but as the principle that made their roles possible. The first idea of endings feeding beginnings. Inside each half of the loop appears a shape nearly identical to the portal that Golb emerges from in Come Along With Me, and beneath it, a white hand reaches upward from the rift, as if creation itself were trying to pull something back. The inscription below names this being Malice. In Gnostic tradition, a figure with the same design is known as Abraxas, a god who embodies totality, creation and destruction, good and evil, light and shadow, held together as one truth. The resemblance is exact. Rooster head, serpent legs, whip and shield, symbols of vigilance, wisdom, and authority. The word malice itself carries weight. In Latin, it means apple, the fruit of knowledge, of temptation, of consequence. The idea that every choice creates its own balance. Even small details elsewhere echo the connection. In Bespoken For, the ancient sleeping magi of life-giving keeps a note near his phone that reads, Abraxas, Monday, 8 p.m., a quiet reminder that this name, or something like it, still lingers through time. None of this is confirmation, but it suggests that what we call balance may not be an idea at all, but the last surviving face of an entity equal to Golb. And to understand what that means, we have to go back, before Ou, before magic, before time itself, to the moment when balance first met chaos and the universe began. If Malice truly mirrors Golb, then their story begins before the world had shape. Long before Ou, before the first stars, there was no space, no motion, no light. Only two opposing truths existing side by side. Golb, the principle of chaos. Malice, the principle of balance. They were not born. They simply were. Golb's nature was dissolution, the hunger that unravels form and returns all things to sameness. Malice's was alignment, the force that gives chaos direction and turns noise into pattern. The idea comes from what we already see in the show, in Gold Stars.
And now for your education.
The Lich describes a void filled with golden monsters that existed before the universe began. If that sea of chaos was real, something had to counter it, or reality could never have stabilized. That counterforce is what this theory calls malice, the first balance that allowed existence to hold together. The Enchiridion supports the pattern. Malice is drawn opposite Golb, their symbols mirroring one another, just as creation and destruction are paired throughout the series. Golb's portals consume. Malice's imagery knots and binds. One collapses reality. The other defines how far it can bend before breaking. Before balance entered the void, shapes already moved within Golb's chaos. Beings that defied description, giants of instinct and will unbound by sequence or memory. These were the Primordials, the first children of entropy. Fragments of Golb's energy that had become self-aware in the endless sea of nothing. They existed without before or after, only layers of being collapsing and reforming forever. When balance arrived, everything changed. Infinity divided into moments. Time began, and with it came consequence. The Primordials were caught inside that transformation. The chaos they once ruled became a world of rhythm, decay, and rule. Some dissolved under the pressure of consequence. Others simply remained, reshaped by limits they had never known. And from that collision between chaos and balance, creation took form. A universe built from the pressure between two eternal forces, Golb and Malice. When Malice entered that void and imposed balance, everything changed. Time began, and the Primordials were pulled into a reality that now had limits. What had once been infinite was suddenly measurable. Their nature did not change, but the universe around them did. Sometimes change reshapes everything around us before we ever get the chance to catch up. And like the Primordials, we often carry instincts that were made for a world that no longer exists. Chaos continued to move through them, pressing against the new order that tried to contain it. Some were erased when their power broke the laws that Malice had written into existence. Others simply persisted, reshaped by the new framework of cause and effect. Among those that remained were beings like Orgolorg, once a cosmic conqueror who moved between worlds, devouring entire planets to gather strength. His attempt to consume the purple comet, a vessel of new life, ended in failure. Cast out of the stars by higher forces, he was reduced to the body of a penguin, a god rewritten by the rules he could no longer defy.
I didn't open this door.
Another was Kokentepi, remembered as one of the first wielders of magic. His understanding of the universe was so complete that even after his physical form was destroyed, his heart continued to beat beneath the surface of Ooh. That heart became the source of the magic that fuels Wizard City, a fragment of chaos still pulsing under the weight of order. Some accounts suggest others were not destroyed but confined in the Citadel, a cosmic vault built to contain beings whose power violated balance itself. If that is true, then fragments of the first monsters may still exist, locked beyond the edges of time. The Lich would arrive much later, born from the green catalyst comet, carrying Golb's chaos forward into the ages of time. None of these beings survived in the mortal sense. They simply remained. They are expressions of the same contradiction, born from entropy yet defined by balance. Every act of magic, every natural law, every moment of decay follows the same rhythm, echoing the tension between Golb and Malice, the two forces that continue to shape Ooh from opposite sides of creation. What began as Malice breathing order into chaos became the universe learning how to keep itself stable. Rules turned into patterns. Patterns became cycles. The earliest of these were the elementals, living forces that embodied the essential states of matter and energy: fire, ice, slime, and candy. Each returned across different ages, reincarnating whenever the world tilted too far in one direction. They were not gods, but equations in motion, balance taking form through life. The catalyst comet soon followed. Every 1,000 years, a comet would strike the planet carrying the energy of change. Some brought life, some destruction. But everyone reset the balance that time and chaos had begun to erode. They became the heartbeat of the universe, the pulse that reminded reality to start again. Across the stars, similar rhythms unfolded. Worlds rose, decayed, and formed anew. Civilizations built order, only for entropy to reclaim it, and from that ruin, balance rebuilt once more. The elementals kept the world steady from within. The comets maintained its rhythm from without. Together they formed a system capable of surviving even without direct interference from Golb or Malice. Order had become self-sustaining, a structure able to run on its own. But stability carries its own danger. A system that regulates itself, ignorance takes place for those who live in the stability it creates. And we are not so different. As our own life settles into routines, we tend to forget that the peace we have is a privilege, that we have it better than most. We forget how much work it once took to reach stability. Balance never stays on its own. It is something we return to again and again, and sometimes painfully, because chaos always finds its way back in. The cycles continued long after their makers had faded from memory, until the pattern itself became invisible to those living inside it. Yet traces of that original balance still appear. When fire and ice clash, when candy spreads into slime, when a new comet tears through the sky, the old law stirs again. It reminds Ooh that balance was never the absence of chaos. It was the way creation learned to live beside it. It was the only way the energy of chaos can be tamed, because energy cannot be destroyed and only transferred. And that's how creation is made. According to one of the oldest surviving texts, the Enchiridion and Marcy's super-secret scrapbook, reality itself might be the shared dream of the Primordials, a consensus imagined into existence. In this theory, the universe we live in is not separate from its creators. It is their memory continuing to think. Golb and Malice, once opposite forces, became the dreamers holding the same vision from different sides. Chaos creates, balance preserves. Together, they sustain the illusion we call existence. It would explain why behaves like a living system, responding to imbalance as if it can feel it. When magic fades, something brings it back. When chaos breaks through, order rebuilds. The elementals reincarnate not by choice but by necessity, like memories replaying themselves. The catalyst comets fall because the world requires renewal. Even the actions of mortals, every act of creation, destruction, or love, contribute to keeping the rhythm alive. In this way, reality becomes a conversation between memory and instinct. Golb's chaos tests the boundaries of what can exist, and Malice's balance decides what remains. Every event, every breath, is another negotiation between the two. And maybe that is true for us as well. We live between what we remember and what we feel, between who we were and who we try to become. Between all the things that have happened and are happening in the world, we're all living a shared dream. It may not be literal dreaming, but the metaphor fits. The world behaves as if it remembers, as if it was built on an idea that refuses to fade. Perhaps that is why creation in always feels fragile, why every miracle carries a shadow, and why, no matter how many times balance restores itself, chaos always finds its way back. Because if reality truly is the shared dream of its oldest gods, then every heartbeat, every falling star, and every act of magic is them still dreaming, together. Somewhere between chaos and order, the universe found balance, the perfectly designed equilibrium that allows life, a rhythm that keeps everything alive. Every age of has followed that rhythm of creation, collapse, and renewal. Malice and Golb are not memories of that cycle. They are woven into it. The law and the force that answer each other across every age. Their influence still shapes the hierarchy that governs reality. If this theory is true, Malice is balance incarnate, a consciousness that remembers the first rule. Creation and destruction are the same motion seen from different sides. Golb uncreates, Malice defines, and everything else exists in the space between. And within us, the same truth plays out. We live between forces we did not choose, caught between chaos and order, much like everything else in Peace is not a given. It comes from how we choose to live between those forces, not from how tightly we try to hold control over every single thing that happens to us. That is how we find harmony, and finally, hopefully, our own sense of peace. Balance never stays on its own. We lose it.
James Bell!
We return to it.
James Baxter!
And we relearn it as the world continues revolving around us. Renewal is not punishment. It is how life begins again. That is the law that even godly beings obey. So perhaps that is the hidden lessons of the forgotten gods of The world may once again not remember their names, but it still follows their rhythm. Every heartbeat, every falling star, every act of magic moves to the same hidden pulse. Because the law they began has never stopped.